This is the Phil Swallow podcast, episode number 171, Mystery Solved, and it is being broadcast on Monday the 29th of April at around about 7:30 p.m. UK time. Welcome, 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 everybody. So, hi Peter, evening to you. And I will get going with the agenda very soon. Hope you're all doing well. We actually had a day of spring today. I think we've had the odd one day of spring. I mean, it wasn't that warm, but anyway. And I spent most of the time editing. So, live broadcast, get involved, video, live. Right, so I will make a general start because why not? And I'm sure you don't want to be kept here all evening. So the first item is I've frozen. Put another 50p in the meter. Well, again, I tested the connection. Have I frozen to everyone, or is it? Hopefully, I'm still here. I use a wired connection. I actually plugged this laptop into the router that's in another room. Yeah, what was that yellow thing in the sky? Indeed, what was it? It'll probably disappear tomorrow, Peter. So yeah, hopefully the connection's okay. I did one of those speed test things earlier, and it was 800 and something megabits per second, so that should be plenty. I'm still here. Good. Okay, I hope. So yes, I'm going to talk. When I set these up, one of the things I said I would do is just give a bit of behind the scenes, I suppose, as to what goes on and how things come about. So, excuse me, frog. The Kenley Royal Canadian Air Force 100 video that went live a couple of weeks ago. So I saw online, and I speak to Linda Duffield from Kenya Revival, and she mentioned that they were going to do this tree planting ceremony, maple tree, and it was in recognition of the service that the Canadians provided during World War II. And actually, as we discovered in the video, they actually helped to build the very land, or create the land, develop the land, which Kenley Aerodrome sits on. So we met up. We didn't really have too much of a plan other than following the trail. And I have to say, every single time I go to Kenley Aerodrome, I find it such a very special place. You go there and there's people jogging, cycling, taking their kids out. I think a lot of times you see kids learning to ride bikes and stuff there. There was no glider activity when we were there, so it meant you could walk on the runways and crisscross that way if you needed to. We didn't. We just stayed on the perimeter track because that was where the display was, the trail for the fallen servicemen. And it's I don't know, because there's so much of it there, I suppose it makes it such a very special place. And Linda's got incredible knowledge. She works so hard with her team to put on various activities. She gives talks and runs a website and gets involved in all other networking with other, World War II aerodromes and stuff. And it was my pleasure really to go out there and film it. In terms of camera, I use my 360 camera, which I don't use as much now. It's weird. So it literally records a ball of footage, and when I edit it, I can then decide what angle I want, whether it's facing me, sideways, frontwards. It gets a bit funky sometimes with some of the angles, but for something like that where it's not planned and it will be filming two people rather than just me, I went with that camera to give me more options, and pretty pleased with the results. And yeah, it went live and it's been promoted and, endorsed, and all sorts of lovely comments on social media and otherwise. Oh, your phone froze. Thanks, Jeff. So yeah, it was my pleasure. And if you ever get the chance to be there, I know sometimes people have moved away, but if you're in the area, well worth a visit up there. It's 24/7 opening. You just park in Hayes Lane or wherever you can park. Victor Beamish Avenue is another place you can park. There's another car park there. And you could just wander around there. And I think one of the plans I've got in the summer is to go up there and do a bit of an evening thing. I might just do photography still shoot. Just take my camera and tripod and get some sunsets and stuff like that, a couple of lenses. May do a video, don't know. But yes, so that was it. That was our bit to help the Kenley RCAF, the Royal Canadian Air Force 100. And actually there was a bit that came up today in one of the comments. Andy St. Laurent, a friend of mine, ours, I think Jeff may know him, but Andy used to live in our area, Wallingham guy, and he lives in California now, and his father's Canadian and based at Marden Park in Wallingham, which is now the school, and he met his mum at a dance in Caterham, and she ended up being a I'll come back to you in a minute, Jeff. She ended up being one of the Canadian war brides that Linda mentioned in the film. So that was something that was quite connected really with what we were covering in the video. Did I get the film I sent you at Kenley when the flood was on? I don't remember, Jeff. Did you send it on an email? I don't remember seeing it. So my apologies. Maybe if you could send it again, that'd be great. Appreciate that. So yeah, so that was Kenley, and great place, well worth a visit. There's so much land that remains there. No real buildings. There's kind of the remnants of where buildings were. You can actually see the outline of some of the kind of brick structures of the last remaining hangar, and the watch office, which is like the little control tower. But yes, Kenley, brilliant. Well worth it. So the other video that went live today was my walk over Nor Hill. Well, Chelsham, Worms Heath, Broombank, Hovings Hole, Nor Hill. There might be some other little subtleties of land within all of that. And I did the walk last week. And if you haven't seen the video already, around about on an email, right, I'll have another look, Jeff, but it might be easier to just send it again, and then phil@philswallow.com, and it should get to me. Thank you. So yeah, a few minutes in, maybe 5 minutes in, something like that. I didn't mark the time. I asked a question because I saw a piece of apparatus in the boundary. So there's like a public footpath that goes through the old quarry that was there at Worms Heath, and there's oh right, okay, I'll yeah, send anything you've got, Jeff, and if you've got anything from the old quarry, that'd be great. But probably haven't. So I asked a question because there was a piece of apparatus there that had some like rollers, and it had a little engine, little pulley, and I just said, as I often do in the videos, does anyone know what this is? And I'm pleased to say, I'm going to find the email now. Here we go. So this is from Jeff, who's on the call now, on the video, Jeff Harrison. So the place where the rollers are was the wheel wash for the lorries next to the weighbridge, and they used to work there filling in the quarry with the rubbish. A&J Bull, I do remember those lorries. A&J Bull Mitcham rings a bell, maybe. Anyway, so yes, filling in the quarry, but that was the wheel wash before they went onto the weighbridge. So I think that has to be the fastest where I've asked a question and one of my very kind viewers / subscribers have come on and given me the answer. So thank you, Jeff, and I really appreciate that. And it's just one of these things, just curiosity, because that plot is I don't know, it's one of those memories that I just remember so strongly from when I was there as a kid, just peering over, not knowing. I think it's partly the fact that I didn't know a quarry existed there. We went up there with our bikes and thought, what the, this huge hole in the ground with little roadways, lorries, and this is when the extraction was taking place. So this is before the landfill took place, which Jeff was referring to. And yeah, it's so to actually get a little with nothing much going on that land, and that's part of the problem, part of the story, which you'll see in the video. The fact that we've now got an answer to that question so early is brilliant. So, but yeah, quite a strange place, really. There were a few planning applications on Tandridge website, and the way most of these planning portals work is that you'll get the kind of headline decision for stuff that's really old, and stuff that's slightly more recent you'll actually get the documents, and obviously the documents tell a much better story. So I was digging around on the Tandridge Council website to get as much information as I could as to what's happened on that site over the years, and basically it's the development that's taken place to build the barn and to get kind of approvals to really add at least a metre of soil to the top surface so that they can graze cattle and, you know, do some sort of cultivation there. That's all documented, and it's all permitted because it's just part of sort of farm operation. There's no real planning permission required there, and yes, so you'll see it either in the video. It's certainly visible on an aerial map, and probably as you go by as well. There's quite a long barn that you can see there, and that barn basically sits on top of the anti-aircraft battery, the anti-aircraft guns that would have sat there for 10 years, and they've obviously gone. I'd love to see some pictures of said guns, but maybe people weren't allowed to take pictures of such things. So yeah, so that was a nice little bit of history. And then I did put a little comment on the video today, because when I came out of Beach Farm Road, I did a left and walked for about half a mile or so, maybe a bit more, and then crossed over and went down towards Warrenbarn Farm and Hovings Hole, because I wanted to do the climb back up. And it's basically to experience the sort of valley there, or where the valleys meet in Hovings Hole, and then work my way back up to where the Bronze Age enclosure was, which is behind Wormsheath Cottages. But you could, if you want to do a shorter walk, do the first bit, gravel quarry, second bit, anti-aircraft battery, the visual of Beach Farm Road, cross over the road to Wormsheath Cottages, and there's a little gate by the side, one of these secure kind of walkers gates, and then you can go into where I went before. You may not be as lucky in that there might be cattle in the field, tread carefully, but there is a footpath that goes right the way through, past the pinnacle, and then into the woods at the end. So it's a set of public footpaths that are on private land. I just knocked the mic then. So that was that. Now, according to my agenda, we've got to that fun part of the show. This is, not only am I going to reveal the solving of the mystery, I'm also going to attempt to share the screen. So here we go. Right, screen capture. Now, hopefully you can still hear me and see me. That should be a map. Well, it is a map. I can see, or an aerial photo. Let's just go to a different view. So a map, and then satellite image. Now what I'm going to do is briefly come back to you. Okay, now, question if you could answer in the comments. Did you see where I switched over to the different screen? And did you continue to hear what I was saying whilst that was going on? If someone could do a little comment, that would be great. Either way, it either worked or it didn't. So I just showed the aerial map and then the Apple map of the location. Yes, brilliant. Okay, right, well, I'm going to dive back into that now. So let's, now we know it works. Just find the map. Now, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So the piece of land in question is here. So that's 148 Limpsfield Road. I'll do a little, of course I decided to not show the cursor. So I'm just going to go back and change the setting. Live and learn, don't you? Properties, show cursor. I don't know why I took that off. Where are we? Boom. Hopefully you can see my cursor. So that's 148, that's 152. And in the middle, this is what I did the video about. I said, why is there a gap on 150 Limpsfield Road? And that is the gap, which is about the width of a house and filled in with trees and growth. There are a couple of pathways through this. So, and I'd had a few different responses on that where people had come back to me saying actually I got a copy of the deeds at one point which showed various agreements going back over years about access to get to services going across there. And then I had this email came in. So I'll kind of read it as I go through it. So this came in a couple of weeks back. And it says, the gap where 150 Limpsfield Road should be was originally planned to be where a roadway into a largish new estate was intended to be built there. There was also a further entrance planned where Atwood Primary School now is. My father once showed me a map of this proposed estate which he had been drawing up in the early 1930s. At that time, a lot of new housing was going up, including the house that my father bought in 1935, 10 Ellesmere Drive, where he was born. So we've all heard of 1930s semis. This is the big building boom that happened in the 1930s. I cannot remember who the proposed developer was, but the map had been produced by them. However, I am aware that planning permission was much easier in those days and would have come under the auspices of the old Purley and Causden Urban District Council, which became defunct with the advent of the GLC. The map showed the roads leading off Mitchley Hill, Holmwood Avenue and Tandridge Gardens, so we'll look at that in a minute, also joining the proposed new estate. All of this proposed development and lots more in the area, plus those in Middlesdown and Hamsey Green, came to a grinding halt as World War II loomed. After the war, there was a clamp on building and many of the proposed private developments became moribund. So, and there's reference to a large field, 50 acres, and interesting history back before World War II, use for various purposes, agriculture and the like. Alan Cobham's Flying Circus, I'll actually show that on a map shortly. So, during the war, field was taken over by Surrey Agricultural Committee and ploughed up, as was much land, sports fields and that kind of thing. And there's some other bits of local history here as well. So, but just turning to the map once more and kind of zooming out a bit. So actually going one more. So if we think that this is where the gap was, Limpsfield Road, you're coming in and this is where the entrance to Atwood School is, it's quite feasible that there would have been housing all the way round here, because he mentioned in his email Tandridge Gardens, Holmwood Avenue. So I think that the proposal was to kind of fill in this whole area. Now, I also understood from speaking to someone else recently that these features I highlighted in the recent Sanderstead video. So these, I think I was quite close to one of these in the camera. Oh, there's another one over there. That's right. That's where I was with the camera. And there's another few of these dotted around. And that these are to do with water services. So that would have been to provide a water supply to the housing development. So if we go out to a kind of a really big level, so it kind of feels to me that housing would have possibly gone on the whole length of Wentworth Way, but certainly would have covered this whole area here, and to an extent some or all of that field there. Now, I'm quite thankful that it didn't happen, because these green spaces are really pleasant to enjoy. So I'm just going to come back to the camera. So yeah, it's good to get that from I think Martin. He said he's quite old now. He doesn't get to visit here. He's lived in Wales for a number of years. He's 85. Obviously the plans didn't survive, which is a bit of a shame. But I think I can safely say that I've now got the answer, and when I get some time, I'll pop out and maybe do a little follow-up film. Although part of me thinks perhaps I shouldn't do that because it might give developers ideas. But I hope not. I hope not. So that was that. That was mystery solved. That was 150 Limpsfield Road gap. I'm pretty certain if this is backed by plans that he saw, I've got no reason to dispute it, and it's quite feasible that it would have come in under challenge after the war. Actually, just up the road from where I live, there is Farley Dean Crescent. and it's not a crescent, it's half a crescent. It was built. Hi Andy, he's finally made a live show. You might have to do the replay. I've just revealed all about 150 Limpsfield Road, but I will cover it briefly again. Yes, so Farley Dean Crescent, half of it was designed as a crescent off of Featherbed Lane. This is opposite the Scout Camp, if you know the area, Frylands Woods. And they built half of it, and then war happened, and I think afterwards the builder was involved in building New Addington, pretty much. So the houses go up to the top of a hill, and then that's it. So that's Farley Dean Crescent, or just Farley Dean, Cres. I think I referred to it once. But yes, Andy, basically 150 Limpsfield Road, The Gap. One of the one of the subscribers, viewers on the channel came in, and when he was a young lad, his father had some building plans for that plot of land. It was going to be a housing development, pretty much covering all of that area behind Limpsfield Road, probably connecting Wentworth Way to the back of the houses in Holmwood Avenue, Tandridge Gardens off Mitchley Hill, and originally it may have gone up to the Borrowdale Close and behind there at the top of Sandersley Hill behind the wreck. So that was something. So it was good to actually get an answer to that. And I have to say, as I mentioned earlier with Jeff coming on and noticing the video that I'd put up live today, the Nor Hill video, there's only a finite amount that you can ever find out on research. I mean, or put it the other way, if I researched until the cows came home, I'd never release anything. I'd never do any talks. I'd never complete anything. Although my wife says I'm not much of a completer finisher anyway, but that's another story. So you have to have a cut-off point. And I always think if I've got enough to tell a story, I'll go out and tell the story, and I'll ask questions in that story if there's things I'm not sure about, or if people would like to add more to that. And then, you know, I've done a couple of sort of part twos already of videos where other things have come to light. So, excuse me. So that's cool. In fact, this is the other thing about having conversations and doing networking. So I made the video on Benjamin Beeson a while ago now, and I've been in touch with his grandson, and we're going to meet up in the summer. That'd be great. And I bumped into someone, sort of friend of a friend from school recently, and they have connections with the church up by Caterham on the Hill, the sort of guards church up there near the barracks. And he said that they had records in there going back, you know, over a century. So I've done a little request for him as to whether he can find out about the guards that were dispatched to, well, basically support the funeral of Benjamin Beeson at Sanderstead in 1908. So again, everything's still live in terms of research. It almost never gets completed. So now a brief word on stats, because in the last few days the numbers on my channel have gone mad in a good way, and it seems to be because of the Croydon Airport video. This is a video that I made 2022, one or two, with Ian Walker, and it's basically a story of the history. Ian does all the talking in it. I just kind of filmed him and edited it as usual, and I took some footage from Archive Sketch, who does these brilliant kind of graphic models and things, video models. And YouTube has this thing called browse features, and it's basically, if you're just logging onto YouTube, you just fire up youtube.com and you will be presented with a number of videos. And it uses an algorithm to work out, based on people's search history and the type of videos that they normally click on and look, it puts it all together in the mangle and through the mangle and says, we think you might be interested in this video. And the upshot of that for me is that, as I say, the numbers have just gone completely mad. So that's, I mean, I'm all about success stories, don't get me wrong. So let me just have a very quick look to give you an idea. So I have, YouTube does a kind of rolling, well, I think it's normally the last 28 days. So mainly driven by this video, in the last 28 days, I've got 6.6 thousand more views of my channel. 667 more hours have been watched. I've actually gained another 32 more subscribers than usual. But that's mainly in the last week. So the graph shows a little bit of an uptick round about a week ago, and then it literally just goes mad in the weekend. So I know I'm not sharing this part, but I'm just kind of reading you the numbers. And let's have a look. So Croydon Airport video in the last hour alone, 93 views. In the last 48 hours, 2,691. So thank you, algorithm, because that's been really helpful to me. And if people look on one video, there's a good chance they might look on others and hop around and look at other things on the channel. So really, really pleased about that. And in terms of where I go next, I've always got things in the pipeline, always. And it is that thing about finishing them. So I've got one that's fairly local, where I think I might ask for permission if I can get on the land, because I think it'll make more of a video, and I'll work out how I'm going to cover that one. I've got a World War II story about Glendon Boo, the pilot. I've got another walk to do in the Godstone area, which I'm quite looking forward to. I mean, I just want the rain to stop, but it's quite a long walk, but I think it covers areas of Godstone that I've never even been to at all. And I must do Caterham. I've actually got a couple of books on the history of the shops at Caterham Valley. Sue knows Caterham very well, so maybe she'll come out with me and do the video. I don't know. But yes, Caterham Valley will happen sometime soon. Pictures when they put the plane down on Purley Way. Got pictures. Right. Oh, do you mean when they actually installed the plane? Anyway, Jeff, it sounds like you need to be sharing your collection of pictures and videos with me, mate. And then I can make good with them. Now, a couple of things I think Jeff raised before about an air crash in the Chelsham area. Now, I did have a look on. I'm going to show you this site as well. Let's go mad. Let's call it up first. So, Chrome, East Surrey, can't type, history, bomb map. I'm sure I had this page up earlier, maybe I've got it on a different browser. So I can publish this link in the video description. But this, we had a presentation on this recently, and it's basically a bomb map of East Surrey. So I'm going to go in a bit nearer, find our neck of the woods. So this is broadly Croydon area. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of activity in Croydon in World War II. And it's in the course of completion, but I'll just sort of click on a pop-up. So this is fairly nearby. 24th of March 1944, night time, Ballard's Plantation, Croydon Valley Road, 30 high explosive bombs and many incendiary bombs. And then read more. And they complete these information sheets. So you've got all the information about activity that took place. Direct hit completely demolishing a public shelter. Sounds horrendous. Crest Road, crater in the back garden of number 4, no apparent structural damage. And this is being completed across the board, because what they want to do is tell the story. You know, it's all very well just saying, oh, look, there's a bomb map, there's lots of activity, but they're looking to match records between what's been reported and logged as a bomb raid, bomb hit, and then marry them up ideally with any kind of medical reports that they might have, just to see if they can complete the actual story of what happened. I mean, I'm just looking here. This is South Croydon V1, Croydon Valley Road, 3 V1s on the same day. Let's have a look at this. So Croydon Valley Road, flying bombs exploded at the end of garden numbers 20 to 22 Croydon Valley Road, rendering these properties unstable. Numbers 16 to 28 seriously damaged. Blast damage in varying degrees affects the properties in the vicinity. So this is a level of detail that is quite impressive. And I say they're looking for more. The reason they came to us becomes clear here, because we've got a chunk of Surrey still here, but we haven't got the level of documentation. Croydon is by far and away, the best. What a V2 one there. Sunnybank, South Norwood, V2. Direct hit on number 8. This house and numbers 6, 7 and 9 demolished. Well, they were horrendously damaging weapons. And we got some people who sadly died in that property. So, yes. So, Surrey World War II bomb incident map. I mean, you could do a search as well. And I'm not sure about this aircraft thing, because I'm just going to go back to the screen. We discussed with the guy that was presenting it, and yeah, V2 hitting Sarnstead. Yeah, Andy, it's probably worth having a look at that map and having a zoom in and dig around, because that'll probably have, it looks like there were a number of V2s there. Yeah, so I've lost my train of thought. They have a good look around the map and just learn from it, really. I mean, it's such a brilliantly put together piece. They do need more help. They ask for volunteers from various history groups to do some of the legwork and go and use the resources at Surrey History Centre or wherever. And yeah, so I feel kind of connected to it, but I'm not one of the volunteers because I've got plenty of other things to do. Peter Clark might know Jeff Harrison. There you go. Worked for Croydon Council for 40 years. So that was that. Now, yeah, so it's fluid, I suppose, in terms of next lot of videos. Sue and I are going to have a few days of staycation in the middle of the month when it's my birthday. And our garden projects, my lawn. I generally look after the lawn, but it's got thatch that's built up over donkey's years. So I've been, well, I bought a scarifier, petrol scarifier. I did research forever and decided I needed something heavy duty. So I bought a Stihl petrol scarifier, and I did the first run the other day, filled up 4 bags just on the lightest setting. So I'm going to have to do multiple runs to get my lawn back to looking something half decent. Lawns, unfortunately, I've got a longish front lawn, 2 lawns in the back, about 360 square metres. Anyway, so gardening, Crystal Palace, just a quick word on them, brilliant. They are mathematically safe from any relegation threats, and they're really playing some nice football. So that's always good if you're a Palace fan. And they were all the things that I planned to cover on today's show. It was all about the mystery being solved. Did you know Kevin Redman? Yeah, so it was all about the mystery. 150 mystery. I think it's quite good having the information that I got from Graham, I think it was earlier, because that did give me a level of knowledge about the area. Eagles. But to then get the story with the plans means that I'm pretty happy we are where we are with 150 Limpsville Road. The mystery that was up here is kind of resolved. I still don't know completely and definitely about the stones at Addington Village, the Addington Stones mystery. So yeah, that one might run and run. They cleared the land, but they left some stones. Why didn't they just take the stones? It'll only ever be a mystery in my head. So while I'm here, live-ish, have you got anything that you wanted to chat about? I say chat, you know, comment chat. Oh, there was one other thing that happened today. I got a super thanks for my recent video. And what you might be asking, what's the super thank? Well, someone just gave me a bit of money, which was very nice. And you can just say thanks on the video, make a little donation. So I was really, really chuffed to receive that. And every little helps, because nothing's free. Storage, subscriptions, and the like. Oh, and I secured another talk for autumn time. So I've got one next week for Wallingham Women's Institute. and I'll be talking about the Gardner family and Hamsey Green Aerodrome. And even if there's people there that may have seen me talk before on that subject, I've got new old material, if that makes sense. It's a brilliant story, one that I love telling, and I get to tell it again in June at a history group in Caterham, and in July at Sanderstead Local History Group. Some of these talks, I mean, if you guys can ever get along, please do. Not all of them are public per se. Some of them are membership, but the Sanderstead Local History Group, they are held on the last Wednesday of each month, 2 p.m. start in All Saints Church Hall, Sanderstead. So let me know in advance if you're coming along. That'd be great, and we can have a little chat and a cup of tea afterwards. Tea is served, tea and biscuits, and you have to pay £1 on the door or something. So it's just something that developed from doing this, is to go into the real live talks. But I quite like that. Quite like the fun of chatting to people and meeting people. So cool. Okay. Well, I will end it there. We've gone roughly the usual time. We normally go for about 35, 40 minutes. Did I find out a plane crash on the Heath before the second one? Jeff, you've now reminded me of something where I lost my train of thought earlier. I didn't, but when I went to the National Archives a month or so ago, I looked up a couple of plane crashes in the Sanderstead area, and I don't know why my brain didn't take me to look up some in that area. But anything that's a civil plane crash, it seems like there's the full sort of air accident investigation board. I mean, it probably weren't called that back in the day, but there's a full documented report into the crash. And in the National Archives, they just, you have a kind of, where am I? Where's the camera? A box file of these things, and as long as you get your index number, to search through, and you undo your little piece of string, and you can read through them and take photos and stuff. So I've got one or two things building up to go to Kew again for at the National Archives. So I will have a look at that one, because I found that with the couple I looked at before, they weren't really that obvious in other records, in other research places that I would normally look. But when I was within the National Archives and I dug around a bit, there is a kind of special category for it. So leave that one with me, and it may not happen straight away, but I'm definitely going to get up to Kew again, early summer kind of thing. So we get a summer. If we have a spring and if we have a summer, I'll get up there in the summer, and I'll have a look at what happened, what came down, because I was surprised in the Sanderstead ones. There were more than I expected, these different crashes. So, yeah, I'm pretty certain there'll be something there. So that was before the Second World War. And, of course, that gives me a little bit of time to do the searches. So the way it works is you do the catalogue search in advance, and then you kind of book the items. And then when you go there to Kew, they will, not to Kew in a queue, Kew. They have the files ready, and you can just take those files and look through them, and it's really great place. So a nice location. So yes, I will follow that up. Note taken. Try and get some answers. Actually, this is the other thing which I didn't find on that map that we were looking at earlier, but Linda was telling me about a crash in Titsy Hill from one of the Canadian guys. Again, it was slightly different in wartime in terms of where these things may have been recorded. I mean, they were recorded, obviously, but you didn't have the same level of perhaps reporting and availability of that information as you would have done in a civil one. So, but yeah, I couldn't find those incidents even on that bomb map. So very strange. Good, right. Well, I really do appreciate this, guys. I appreciate the coming on to the stream and the chat. Thanks, Andy, for coming along. Glad you can make it, mate. And yeah, just maybe have a whiz through the replay. The usual thing with this is that it as I mention every time, YouTube just does stuff. I think initially it goes up as a standard definition quality. Then they do the background processing to make it high def. Then a day later they add in the chat comments, and sometime within all of that I download a copy, run through my transcription software, and then upload the subtitles, just correct spellings and all that stuff. Cool, great. Right, well, thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate it, and see you in the next one.